Good morning. This is actually Sunday morning. I'm doing the week rundown for Algebra 2 right now. Hey guys. So I just wanted to give you what your week's going to look like, and I know I had to give you those big ideas. That was as promised. All right, so we're going to start with, first off, a little bit of history of where I'm at. I'm trying to do my videos in different spots for you guys, so I'm not kind of in the same spot. So right now we are in my office, or my library. Okay, you want to see? There we go. We got books, lots of pictures. There we go. All those Duke books down there. Yep. All right. So that's kind of where we're coming from today. Sitting in my grandpa's chair. Just a little history of that. My grandpa Semro, Leo, passed away when I was in 5th grade. And I was his favorite. And he was very vocal about that. He really didn't like my brother. And that's okay. My mom liked my brother better than me anyway. So everybody has their favorite, right? So anyway, when my grandpa passed away when I was in 5th grade, I was really, really sad. So my grandparents had 2 chairs. And my grandma had one, and she'd sit in there after dinner, and my grandpa would always be sitting in his. And when he passed away, I never sat in his chair again. I just didn't. And it was just really hard. So anyway, then my grandma, who ended up living into her 90s, she passed away when I was in close to my 30s. I may have bought my house. I can't remember, but she passed away about a little more than 10 years ago, I think. She asked me, is there anything out of the house you want? And I said, I want Grandpa's chair. She looked at it, and I had never sat in his chair. She goes, you got it. You get Grandpa's chair. So that's my chair. I sit in here and I read, and sometimes I can see the TV into the other room. I know when Reddick was a puppy, I'd read and he'd be on my lap, but yeah, there's a little history of my spot. So one thing I want you to know about that story, it's always nice to feel special, right? We all like feeling special. So I try to make people feel special too, because I really like that. And it was sucked that he passed away when I was in 5th grade. He was a great guy. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to tell you your big ideas, the things you need to know. You should be able to know how to graph a polynomial by finding its zeros, which would imply that you understand multiplicity if it touches and turns or if it passes through. And then its end behavior and its y-intercept. I don't need fantastic graphs. If I would end up getting something that looks perfect, I'd think, they're using their graphics calculator. I don't want graphics calculator. I want to know if you understand how to graph it based on those parts. You have to understand the unit circle and all of its parts, and you don't have to memorize it like pre-calc does. We actually started that before we left, and so we're going to dive right into chapter 7 again when chapter 8 is done, which we should be finishing up this week. You should be able to graph the sine curve and the cosine curve and be able to justify why one starts at the origin and the other one starts at 0, 1. And finally, you have to understand basic trig transformations. So before we left, you guys remember we did the blood lab, and one of the things you guys said is, like, we had a vertical stretch and compression. Well, then we also had a horizontal stretch and compression. That's kind of the big thing that's new here, all right? So those are the things you need to know. So the first one that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to graph a polynomial, finding all of its parts. Are you going to necessarily have to graph it for us? I don't know. We didn't make that assessment yet. That's coming this Tuesday in my team. So that's what we're going to be looking to do. All right. So your assessment will be next week. I don't know what it'll look like. Just from talking with the other group I work with, though, the only thing we're testing you on is that big idea. So if you were one of those people who, when you did test the first time around in school, you really latched onto those review questions, just know those review questions aren't going to be on this. This is just going to be on what you have learned. All right? Just what you have learned. All right. So that is what you got. So this week you'll have a quick check this Friday, and then next week you'll have that assessment. All right. So that's what you need to know. So one of the things that I have not been able to do is, because I schedule my Google Meets in the beginning of the week, and I didn't realize Mr. Tennis was going to have one at 1 every Wednesday. So my schedule's changed a little so I can go and listen to what he has to say, because he's kind of important to me. And, but this past Wednesday, I had a colleague. I asked her, I'm like, is there anything I need to know? Please let me know. All right. So one of the things that caught my eye was the last bullet. And so then I emailed Mr. Tennis, and I'm like, could you please confirm that this is what she said? And he said, yeah. So here's the one thing that kind of caught my eye, was essentially that fourth quarter has much, it's like the overall, and this isn't word for word, but fourth quarter has more to do with you passing than third quarter, which makes sense to me in your instance, you guys, because you only had 2 tests. In a whole semester, you were supposed to have 6 tests and a final exam. You only had 2. So do those 2 tests, knowing that you could have made corrections on one, say what you know or not? And so I understood that, fourth quarter. Okay. The other thing is, remember when I think I talked to you guys about my swimming lessons, and if my swimming lessons were in these days and I had to miss the last week because I had a family trip, and then there was a couple testing things here, and then the rest was right here. I went to pass because I was gone. Okay. It's kind of the same thing here. If you've been absent from your fourth quarter learning, you're not going to pass because you haven't demonstrated that you know what you're doing. So from what Mr. Tennis, he gave me, basically he said, yes, fourth quarter is going to depend more on their semester grade than third quarter will. Does third quarter at all? I'm going to be honest, I really don't think it does. It's a lot of fourth quarter. You have to, number one, engage. That means you have to show up. You got to do what you're supposed to do. You got to do your homework. And then you have to demonstrate. Demonstrating for me is your quick checks. You need to get those right. And I've been handing those back to you. I'm waiting for you to get them right. And then you're also going to have an assessment. I'm not sure if we're going to keep handing those back to you for corrections or if we'll just ask one time. But you have to know, you have to show us that you understand what you're doing. So those are the 2 things that he said will get you a passing grade, which totally makes sense. All right. Infinite Campus is now in a pass-fail for me. Just know that pass-fail, I know it's different. It's do you understand or do you not understand? But Infinite Campus is numbers. So we had to give a number to understanding. So like on a 10-point scale, 7 out of 10 would be, in my mind, understanding. The only thing that's less than 7 out of 10 is your homework if it's late. If it's late, it's automatically half. The reason why, you guys, is because when I put those answers out, anybody could easily just be getting half their credit on homework just by copying them. And I guess that I had a kid who actually took my key. It's actually done on Word, and then I downloaded onto Google. He actually copied and pasted my key back and put that as his homework answers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was so livid. So I'm like, yeah, number one, he's not getting any credit for that one. And number 2, I'm just not. I can't, there's some instances where kids give me things on time and then the attachment doesn't follow through and I email you, yeah, I'm giving you full credit. But I just don't know. I can't, I'm not there with you. I'm not watching next to you. All right. So that's why you're getting halves for that. If you're having a problem with Google, as far as you seeing your assignments, you can always email me your assignments. You will know your homework in Infinite Campus, and it's also on the videos. All right. And it's in the classwork folder too. Okay. So I think some of you have been using your phones to open things, and what happens is you can't open the Google Docs on your phones. You're having problems with that. So you need to use your computers. So please make sure you're using your computers. All right. But again, you know everything. It's on Infinite Campus, and it's also in Google, and it's on the video. So those are 3 spots. On Mondays, I'll put your homework in. You guys actually have a pretty lengthy assignment this week because you're going just over 1 section. So you will get all of your instructional videos today, and then you'll also get your homework. Okay, so it's one big assignment this week. Okay, but just know that you're getting everything. And then on Wednesday, you'll get your quick check. I'm creating that this week, and I pretty much know what I'm going to be asking you. But just know if you forget something, it's in Infinite Campus on Monday. This assignment might be difficult for me to give you because there's a bunch of problems you're going to skip, and it might not all get on Infinite Campus. So make sure you look at the classwork assignment too. It'll all get in there. There's no limit on characters there. But you should have all of your work by Wednesday. That's my goal all the time because I want you guys to be able to manage your time. I've got a lot of positive feedback about not receiving anything on Thursday or Friday other than your Friday reflections. Okay. So one thing that I've noticed is that in a couple of assignments, I get like little notes from kids. I don't understand how to do this. And it kind of frustrates me because I have Google Meets 3 times a week with you guys. I'm always open to meet at your time. I feel possibly that some of you guys don't have the best schedules that you're keeping. I know that I talked to my nieces and nephews, and just my 6th grade niece is like, yeah, I started falling asleep at 1, and this isn't good for me. And she's only in 6th grade, and she has to get up for school, and she was having a really hard time. So she's trying to stay away from electronics and stuff after 9, and then going to bed early. And she has to be up by 7 every day for school, and she does her school, and then she's done. It's pretty responsible for a 6th grader. I also know that based on the emails I receive and the late work I receive, some of you are not allotting your time correctly. Or you think you're doing okay, but I know you're not doing okay. Your homework should not be getting to me at 1 a.m. I should not be getting emails at 1 a.m. or even 10 p.m. And I understand if you want to email me and I get to you in the morning, that's okay. But this is just indicating to me that you guys are staying up maybe a little too late. I know some people are binge watching Netflix. They've told me this in their reflections. I've also heard those kids have also had all their homework in, so that's okay. But they're binge watching and they're playing lots of video games. I know there's some kids who have emailed me and they're like, I'm just working a lot. And I need you guys to develop schedules that are good for you. All right. And just know also that you should not be working more than you normally would work during the school year. You really should not be. That is against the law. So Mr. Tennis said that was one thing that some kids were saying they don't have enough time because they're going into work because other people won't. You're still in school, so you need to go to work. There's some exceptions, but if you're not in YA, you're probably not supposed to be working that much. So you need to get a better schedule. I'm concerned. All right. And I know my Google Meets, I try to do some in the morning. I do some in the afternoon. I'm trying to be good as far as Google Meets go and giving you different times, but I'm not going to do it at like 8 o'clock for everybody. I might do it every once in a while for an individual person, but I go to bed at 9:30. I do keep a decent schedule, I think. So, and I keep a pretty decent work schedule. I'm probably working too much. But I need you guys to do that. I need you to meet me on Google. With that, here is my Google schedule for the week. On Tuesday, I'm doing a morning schedule. Okay. Tuesday, you guys are from 9:20 to 9:40, and then I have an anyone time from 10 until 10:30. On Wednesday, I changed mine a little bit because Mr. Tennis meets with us at 1. So I started mine at 10. You guys are going 10 to 10:20, and then from 11 to 11:30 is anybody. And this is my Thursday schedule. You guys are from 1:40 to 2, and then I have anybody from 2 to 2:30. All right. I generally don't do Google Meets on Mondays because you're just getting your work, and on Fridays I want you to work. I've really advocated for you guys to get that work. So I'm really pleading with some of you who haven't done anything for quite a while to please do something. Remember, if you did great third quarter, don't do anything here, you will not pass. I know some of you are probably struggling with schedules. You're mad because we're not going back to school. You're sad because we're going back to school. Or some of you may have just given up because we're not going back to school. We're still in school. It's just different. It looks different. And you need to have a positive outlook. You need to be a little more positive and really try because we don't want to feel like overwhelmed by everything. All right? So I want you to take advantage of my Google Meets. I cannot reach in there and get you, but I would love to. And take care of yourselves. Get some exercise. Get out of the house a little bit. Yesterday I went for a walk and a bike ride, and I sat outside with my dog. It was awesome. It was a great day yesterday. Today's going to kind of suck. I got to start working and making some instructional videos now. But you guys will get your stuff shortly. Okay? Have a great week. Bye.